What does it actually mean to remember who you are? I wanted to create this little video to really talk about what this means for you on your awakening journey. Now, whether you go through a spontaneous awakening, a Kundalini awakening, or if you're simply a seeker in meditation, it does not matter. Regardless of how you go about really understanding yourself at the soul level, you will end up igniting, that remembrance, that old memory of who you've been in past lives. And really what you're meant to do is really find out who you are at the soul level beyond time, space, and form. But on your journey to that place, you will end up discovering a lot more of information about yourself, such as ancient wisdom that's held within you, which is never really lost. So in this video, I want to talk about what does this mean, how does it really happen, and what to look forward to on your journey as you are progressing. Because really what you're here to do is really awaken yourself from the current dream that you are actually living in. Now, the deepest question that you truly want to ask yourself on the awakening journey is, what am I truly awakening to? If you are just caught up in your day-to-day life after an awakening, if you are just living in your purpose, then you have not really gotten to the bottom of what your awakening was really trying to do. So the key thing to understand here is that your current life is actually the dream and expansion of your consciousness. So consciousness is actually trying to awaken itself through you, through your experiences, but it's really up to you whether or not you jump on with that opportunity, ride that wave, or if you go back to being asleep, which is in the dream state that you are actually experiencing. So every opportunity, every experience that you go through is literally trying, it's consciousness trying to awaken through you. But whether or not that happens is really up to us. Now, if you just take a look at how many people experience an awakening, but then probably lose their way somewhere along the journey because they have not gone in, search for that deeper truth, well, then that, is not the purpose of your awakening. A true awakening is really when it creates that thirst in you to go deeper, to dig deeper for what's really out there. Who are you at the soul level, beyond time, beyond space, and most importantly, beyond form? Because there are multiple stages when you go within, and it is that eternal self that you're supposed to really awaken to. Nevertheless, beyond that, what is important here when we talk about remembering who you are is that in each lifetime, whatever progress you've made, however deeply you've evolved, that is never lost. It gets stored in your causal mind. And, if you really want to understand the layers, I will link a video at the end of this one that you can watch that I created to help you with understanding those layers. But remembering who you are is really peeling back those layers so you can get to that eternal self. Now, in Sanskrit, there's actually a word called Sanskaras, which actually means impressions. In each lifetime, all the experiences, all the wisdom, all the information and knowledge that you acquire, that's actually stored in your causal mind. And as you, go through lifetime over lifetime, you are meant to keep evolving further and further. And so luckily, you never start at ground zero, but what does it really take to ignite that memory? Now, sanskaras are the impressions that are left on your soul from previous lifetimes. Now, if you just take a look at, when you meet somebody that's very young, but all of a sudden, they are meditating at possibly the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. And really what's happening here is not that, this young person has all of a sudden just run into meditation and fell in love with it. That's really rare. Usually what's happening is that they are picking up where they left off in their previous lifetime. They have probably made a lot of spiritual progress, a lot of inner progress, And so they are very, a wise soul, a mature soul that is acquainting themselves with where they left off so that they can evolve and keep expanding their consciousness to really get to that goal and that objective. Now, for a lot of us, there are impressions right from when you were young. You could probably not even know why you have the habits that you have. Of course, there are things that we carry on from our family, but then there are other things. And, a lot of the black sheeps in their family will probably be able to relate with this, where you actually have habits that are very different than your family and you can't really explain why. Well, those are usually the impressions from your previous lifetimes that you are carrying on and really help you evolve as you move through this incarnation. So, in case you're wondering, why can't we actually remember everything right from the get go? What takes so long to really have that wisdom, that information, those gifts really unlock? And the truth is that when you ascend and reach the right frequency, it's almost like turning into the right, radio station by turning that dial, and it's all related to your energy, your vibration. And when this happens, you end up unlocking information. Now, this isn't going to be the same for everybody, but a lot of you might have on your awakening journey at different points in time unlocked various pieces of information. For example, you could have right after your Kundalini activation, some things would have surfaced for you that you know very deeply, maybe had some visual insights. Now, it's not something that keeps coming up for you, but it might just be those little moments in time where you ended up unlocking some information. Well, that happened because possibly Kundalini rose to, that higher level, unlocked some information, and then went back down again. So you didn't stay on that consistent path of really unlocking all of that information, but you got a little insight into what really took place. And so this can actually happen to a lot of you throughout your journey until you reach that right signature vibration that you need to unlock everything that you're going to need for possibly your purpose or your soul's evolution, regardless of what you're really working towards. So something to really just understand there is when you reach that right frequency and vibration, you will have access to all of those memories, those lessons that you've previously learned. So how do you end up unlocking this information that's held within you, especially if you need it for your soul's purpose in this incarnation? This is going to look different for everyone. For some of you, you may visit certain sites where you end up getting downloads of information that you may need. And really, this is not something you need to worry about. You will be called as if might be relevant to your soul's purpose in this lifetime to go and really activate that information. So when you feel called to do that, you can definitely visit accordingly. So it's not something that's going to happen for everybody. Not every individual on the awakening journey needs to visit particular sites to unlock that information. But for some of you, it might be very, very relevant. In fact, you may have to travel to quite a few different places to getting that information that you need across various grid lines that is, relevant to your soul's purpose in this lifetime. For some of you, you may have to go to, different bodies of water because water actually holds memory within it. And so just sitting by the water might actually awaken that memory held within you. For others of you, it might just be basically the rising of the energy that's within us to the third eye level or above. This could, for spiritual seekers, if you are in meditation, this could happen to you. If Kundalini is rising automatically without, you really wanting to or not, it might be a spontaneous Kundalini awakening that you experience. You could still end up unlocking that information as you come online. Now, for others of you, it might just be hearing certain sounds, certain vibrations that end up unlocking that remembrance within you. For some of you, you might actually be stepping into a role that you held in a previous lifetime. And as you start to embody that in this lifetime, you might start to pull in memories from a previous lifetime of all the information that you've explored, researched, and understood from previous lifetimes that is going to be relevant to your evolution here. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.